Hello everyone, Boozy here. It's been a while since I've made any videos, and I apologize about that. It's just been busy around the household here. But I wanted to create a few videos tonight to show you guys a few things. One, it's something that I've seen in the higher level brackets quite a bit, and I decided to try it myself, but it took me a while to kind of amass all the pieces together. And then once I did, it's been incredibly powerful, and I wanted to show it to you guys, and you might learn something from it. I did a little bit, and there seems to be a lot of questions within our clan, not in clan, on kind of how damage works, and there's a lot of misperceptions here as well. And there seems to be a lot of clan members that tend to look at damage per second incorrectly, and they perceive it the wrong way. So this video, we're particularly going to look at a new kind of subclass that's not an official class in the game, but it's one that players have created, and it's called the Assassin. And it's an incredibly powerful class if you do it correctly. It's not something that you can just throw together without assembling all the pieces and be successful at. You're typically not going to be successful at creating that. You have to have all the pieces put together in order to pull this off. So I'm going to show you guys what all the pieces are, how it fits together, and why it works so well. So I've got kind of a naked dweller here, a fighter, and I'm going to begin by showing you guys how this works. Now, typically when we look at damage or DPS or something like that, I'm just going to click on something random here. We're looking at this damage per second right up here at the top. In this case, it says 5,055. And typically when we look at damage per second, most people tend to automatically click on the weapon and go straight to the weapon's DPS, but that's actually not very accurate. Now, if you click on the DPS on the weapon itself, you get more stats. The damage of that weapon is not actually 5,055. The damage range of that weapon, you can see here by clicking on the damage, or the DPS rather, is 9,649 to 10,572. What that means is every single time that you connect and do damage, it's going to do damage somewhere in that range. Below that, you have an attack speed, and that attack speed in this case is very slow. All pole axes in the game swing at a very slow speed. And I forgot what that was, but there is a formula out there. The one that's out there on the official Reddit is wrong. It's not right. But very slow, swings slower. All in all, the damage per second here is an average of, that damage, divided by the speed. So how you can affect this, you look around different types of weapons. That's slow. So there's very slow, there's normal, and there's fast. Different types of weapons have different attack speeds, and you can affect this by equipping items that also have damage. And so the quickest weapon in the game is daggers. Daggers, now if you're lucky enough like me to actually have something with an extremely high DPS here, you can see this dagger here has 7,010 DPS, but the attack speed here is fast. Now, you're going to see something here that's a little bit of, it's a little bit weird. So if I equip the daggers to this guy, and the daggers are clearly a tank style weapon. So the traditional mindset is we want to equip tank armor with the tank, right? Now, if you were to say, well, what's the DPS of this guy? I would go here and say, well, it's 7,010. But you'd be wrong. That's not his actual DPS. His real DPS is, if you scroll down here to the left, you'll see damage per second, 8,731. Now, is he actually going to do that much damage every single second? No, it's just an average. But why is that different than his actual weapon? And the answer is because he has damage bonuses. Now, the damage bonus on other gear is added to the damage of not here, not on the damage per second, but here. Okay? Now, here's the big deal. Notice that I have gems down here that I have slotted in here that add damage directly to the weapon, okay? Now, because these gems are slotted directly to the weapon, that damage right there, 309, actually does get added to the range here, and therefore does affect the overall damage per second calculation here on the weapon. I have seen that. The DPS of this weapon here was lower before I socketed those gems in. When I socketed those gems, went back up here and looked, the DPS was higher. However, 710 there, right? I have 762 to 959 damage here. If I unequip this, damage per second's the same for this weapon, because this damage per second right here is just for this weapon. It's not for your fighter. It's just for this weapon. And this weapon's DPS is not affected by what other gear you have directly. It's only indirectly affected. But notice now that I unequipped everything else, the DPS is 7,010 here. They are synonymous. The second I go down here and I equip this, it goes up by 8731. Now, the difference between 7,010 and 8731 is not 959. So how does that make any sense? And this is how it works, okay? This 959 is added here. So every single time that the daggers hit or connect, this much damage in this range is added to every single attack. Well, because the attack speed of this weapon is fast, which is less than a second, I believe it's like half a second, the overall DPS is actually higher than this damage, which means that this same damage here, you actually get more damage, more DPS out of this same plate armor here by equipping it with a combination of the dagger than you would by equipping it with anything else. If I were to equip it with a poleaxe, yes, I would get 959 per hit, but I would only get it at a slow pace. I would still get that 959 per hit at a fast pace more times, 959, 959, 959, as opposed to hitting with this and going 959, 959. See what I mean there? So it's advantageous of you to equip high damage items with very fast items, and that's where the idea of an assassin comes in. So with the assassin, we take this a step further, okay? An assassin is not a tank, okay? So we're going to get rid of this altogether. What we do is we find the highest level or highest damage archer armor we can. In this case, I have the Abyss Lord armor here. The archer armor here, yes, the health is terrible compared to the plate armor, but that's okay because the assassin is not a tank. He's an assassin. His job is to deal a lot of damage. His damage here, look at that. That is crazy amounts of damage. If I equip this in conjunction with those daggers, what do you think's going to happen here? Watch this DPS. We go from 7,000 damage per second to 17.7 thousand damage per second. That's the damage he's doing per second against the enemy. So to couple that off, we're going to go ahead and just, let's see. I got a couple more here. I think those are mage. Yep. So we're going to do the amulet, and which doesn't have any damage on it. Doesn't affect anything. But this ring here. So this ring has even more damage on it. And look at that. And I'm socketing even more damage as it comes along. And so if I equip this, I've got 1,337 damage here. I've got another 96 of slotted. And I'm going to, of course, upgrade those as much as I can. But I'm going to put the damage ring on him as well. Now watch my damage per second. Okay, now he's doing over 20k damage per second. Okay. He is the ultimate damage dealer. He's going to out damage every single one of your archers. He's going to out damage all the mages. I mean, he is the ultimate damage dealer. The problem with him, obviously, he's got low hit points. He's not nearly as beefy as your tank. He is pretty beefy, but not as beefy as the tank. He's going to go down pretty quick. So you need to couple him with a tank. And I do have that. Let me fix this. This is going to bother me. There we go. Blow back out here. And I apologize. I'm upgrading my barracks here. I'll have 6 fighters available soon. So my tank here, and I've got the little holiday skin here. My tank is the one I have the huge plate armor, and I'm not really going for damage here. I'm more just going for high health, high armor, high magic armor, because his role is he's going to take all the hits, and I want him to stay around as long as he possibly can. So I'm going to prioritize things like health and armor on this guy. And I don't care if he's, swinging slower right here. And in fact, I have something on him that's pretty cool. And that is, when attacking, he has a chance to stun the enemy for 2.5 seconds, which will, of course, have a tendency to keep him alive a little bit longer. So what that does is, you have a beefy tank up there, but right beside him, you have this guy that's doing 20,000 damage per hit. Per second against the enemy. Now, this alone is not going to cut it, okay? Because what's going to happen, he's going to stay on the front line. He's going to be going up against other tanks, and other tanks have a ton of hit points, and more importantly, they have a ton of armor. And that armor is going to mitigate this damage to where it's not going to be 20k. It's going to be like 14k, which is still a lot of damage, but it's going to mitigate it, and your guy's going to die. So here is the big piece here. This is what you need to get to. This is what you need to find to make that assassin. And it's an artifact. And the artifact is here. There's 2 different variants of this. You can find these in, the rare artifact, or the legendary. The 2 variants are this. One is the 4-second variation, and one is the 6-second variation. Obviously, the 6-second is way better than the 4-second, even though they cost the same price for some reason. I don't know. This artifact says it activates once in a while when an enemy dies. In my observations, this activates every time an enemy dies. And what it does is it teleports whichever dweller or fighter has it equipped behind the enemies for 6 seconds. Of course, you want for 6 seconds. You don't want the 4-second. Now, the idea here is you equip this on the assassin. The second any of the enemy dies, he's going to teleport behind enemy lines and go to the back row where the enemy archers are. Now, the enemy archers are the squishy guys. They're not as squishy as the mages, but, like this guy right here is pretty beefy, and he has 60,000 hit points. Well, this guy's doing 20,000 damage per second, and he's back there for 6 seconds. He's going to kill an archer pretty quickly, maybe even 2. And so that's the way that the assassin works. You kill something quickly, and then he teleports behind enemy lines and he wipes out their back row very, very quickly. And it's too many bodies hitting the floor for enemy mages to be able to keep up with from a resurrection standpoint. And that's the beauty behind the assassin. One more thing I want to note here about this Vial of Life. And it's not always called Vial of Life. It goes by different names sometimes. But one thing I want to note about this teleport artifact, it is not unique. You can have as many of these as you want equipped to the same squad at the same time. So I'm going to equip it. There we go. We have our assassin. He's doing 20k damage per second. He's going to teleport behind the enemy to take out their back row. Now, let's go show you what this guy looks like in action. Let's find somebody with some decent money here. Definitely not that guy. And by the way, if you're wondering how I'm playing on my computer like this, I've downloaded a software called BlueStacks. It's an emulator you can download for your PC. And from there, you can install the game, link it back up to your Facebook, and you can play on your PC. Here you go. This guy, let's see what his strength is. 300,000? Yeah, okay. Castle defenses might make up for this strength differential, but we'll give it a shot and keep a close eye on this guy in the Abyss Lord armor and see what he does here. This is the assassin in action. Sped up. And there he goes. He just took out a mage and a second mage before he came back. And I really should have slowed that down for you. I'll go ahead and do one more, and I'll do it in normal speed so you can see that a little bit better. Let's see if I can find somebody else that has just a little bit... I'm not going to really beat around the bush here. Let's go ahead and see what this... Yeah, this is not going to take hardly any time, but we'll go ahead and try it, and I'll reduce the speed down to 1 so we can see it happen in slow motion here. Okay, ports behind. He kills one guy, kills two guys, and kills the third one. And that's the point of the assassin. Very, very, very strong. The teleport artifact, I believe, doesn't really start making itself available until around TR8. But be on the lookout for it. It's incredibly powerful, and give it a shot. See you guys later.